Welcome to the world of Rex. It's Marvel Rex. I am so excited to be here with you today, wherever you are listening to this podcast, watching me on YouTube, checking me out in the newsletter and the social medias on TikTok, Instagram, etc. You can find that all. The link is in the show notes. You can always connect with me one on one. We can get some one on one juicy time together evolving together in real time. The link is also in the show notes for one-on-one readings. I do predictive astrology as well as relationship astrology, natal birth chart readings, soul progression readings. There's a lot of really beautiful work that we can do together. So check that out. Links in the show notes. Let's dive into this week. This is like major air horn week. We are entering eclipse season, and it is the equinox, spring equinox for the northern hemisphere and the fall equinox for the southern hemisphere. But this is the astrological new year, baby. I have to like hype it up because it's Aries energy, and this is the 0 degrees Aries ingress, which means that the sun is at a world point in Aries, beginning the new year. So all my Aries, this is your moment. You're waking up. And actually, as a collective, we are all massively waking up because, oh, this is eclipse season. It is so deeply a beginning right now. And the world is going to experience immense changes in the month of April, which is Aries season, most of Aries season, and is just a big change point. So the year doesn't really start from an astrological perspective until this week. So manifestation, truly, if you're interested in manifestation of any kind, whether you have your own personal rituals or you want to learn about manifestation, I'm going to give some tips and tricks here. This week, particularly when the sun moves into 0 degrees of Aries, this is when you want to really start manifesting. This is a big moment. So Wednesday is the day, where I'm speaking from PST time zone, but Wednesday is the day where we can start to really work on our manifestation goals. With Aries, it is about like, what do I want to do this year? What do I want to accomplish? However, Saturn's in Pisces. So I'm going to just keep pulling in the Pisces here. Saturn's in Pisces saying, if you want to sow good karma, if you want to build up your brownie points, it has to be from a heart-based perspective. Your desires have to come from a heart-based perspective, and they have to be healing the world. There has to be some element of, I am giving, like, because I am loving what I'm doing so much, it helps other people heal and it helps groups and society heal. So it's not selfish for the self alone. It's not just trying to get, I always think of Gollum from Lord of the Rings, but just like, my precious. It's not that. It is, yes, my joy, my joie de vivre is also interlaced with everyone else's nervous system or with everyone else's desires. Like there's an integration that we need here with Pluto and Aquarius and Saturn and Pisces. Pluto and Saturn are in these highly transpersonal signs. So even though we have this really hot new beginning that's very Aries oriented with the North Node there of like me, it has to be paying attention. This desire, our desire body, has to be paying attention to Pluto and Saturn in transpersonal signs. What I mean by transpersonal signs is how does your desire fit in with the collective healing? How does your desire build bridges rather than burn them down? That is 100% the energy that is birthing this week. And that's the highest vibration that we could be working with in terms of, okay, what I want also can help other people heal. And that's available this week. So we're going to talk about some really juicy tricks and tips to like get in to your own desire and figure out what you need, and then how we can also bring it out into collective healing. So the moon is in Cancer to start off the week on Moon Day. So Monday, Moon Day, which is Monday is particularly suited to the moon, and where the moon is, we've got the moon in Cancer. Very sensitive, very open to like trying to figure out how to feel secure, how to feel good, not good per se with Cancer. It's like how to feel the feelings so that we can have more security. That's why cancers make incredible therapists. Now, we are still coming off of last week, which was very sensitive because it was a Sun Neptune conjunction in Pisces. And now the Sun is at the final degrees of Pisces before Wednesday. So when the Sun is in the last couple degrees of Pisces, especially with Neptune there, and then the moon in another water sign of Cancer. Ooh, sleepy, dreamy, very emotional. I wrote emo, like emo energy. Pay attention to your dreams during this period of time. They are definitely trying to tell you something. You can ask yourself some questions like, there's some good, this is a good time to ask emotional questions like, what am I feeling on a very basic note? What is coming up for me emotionally? When the moon is in water signs, when the sun is in water signs, we want to turn into our emotions. We want to turn into whether we feel emotionally nourished. What are we really hungry for on an emotional level? What maybe where are certain emotional needs not getting met? These are just good questions. The answers don't need to happen today, but it's very, very important to get in touch with your feelings when the moon is in Cancer and when the sun and Neptune is in Pisces. It's all happening. And there can also be a sense of like with the final degrees of Pisces, the sun moving through there, there can be a sense of like, what illusions am I letting go of? What did I learn in February and March that I'm like, yeah, that's got to go. Like that was an illusion. I didn't see that clearly, and now I'm like letting that go. It's really the word that comes up for me as I'm saying that is humility. With Pisces, especially the last decan, the last 10 degrees, humility is huge. Just like, okay, wow, I have to let that go. Like, all right, you know, it could have been something you really wanted. It could also have been something that you were clinging on to as a sense of safety, as a sense of security, and you've outgrown it. So there's a dissolving quality to the last degrees of Pisces. So things may dissolve in our lives. Emotions can come and go. They can be really big, especially on Monday. I wrote, it's a cry day. It's a day to cry. So if you need to cry on Monday, that honestly is like such a magical way to channel this energy. Now, Tuesday, we have Mercury and the North Node and Chiron all conjunct in Aries. The moon enters Leo pretty quickly. So we go from Monday being this incredibly watery day, a very emotional day, to Tuesday, all fire, like lots of fire. I mean, sun's still in Pisces, but like moon enters a fire sign, Leo. We've got the Mercury North Node and Chiron conjunct in Aries. We're going to start focusing more on ourselves on Tuesday. So Monday, there can be a solipsistic energy on Monday, but it's very emotional. It's like, what am I feeling? What's going on? You could feel lost. You could feel overwhelmed with emotion. And then Tuesday, there's some kind of move into action. We're taking action maybe because of an emotional realization on Monday. Tuesday is like, we have to heal something. We have to talk about how we're healing. We have to communicate with other people. We have to let people know what we need. Like, very emotional on Monday. Tuesday is transmitting the downloads that we had from Monday's emotional sesh, right? Could have been crying all day Monday. Tuesday's like, I've wiped the tears off and now I'm going forth into my life, and these are the changes I want to make, or this is what someone really needs to know because I felt it through all the way and now I'm very clear. There's still until Wednesday with that moon and or with that sun at the last degrees of Pisces. Tuesday still might not have all the answers. I do think people are already going to be talking. People are already going to be like, this is what I need. Again, sun at the last degree of Pisces, close to Neptune. We still need to take a little bit of more time to feel through the feelings and parse through the potential illusions. So I wouldn't make huge, massive changes on Tuesday, but it is going to be a time, I think, regardless, where people are talking to each other and coming from a place of like, I need. Mercury in Aries is, this is me. I am. I am. And Moon in Leo is like my inner child, my inner child. Here's my inner child. So it's a lot about me, me, me. I think it's going to come out on Tuesday no matter what. And there will be some desire to change because this is all, Mars is very present with all the Aries energy. It's about making changes, taking action. So there could be a lot coming up around inner child versus your parent, your inner parent, authority figures, external authority figures, changes in how you love yourself, changes in joy, pleasure, and sexuality. But there's some element with Chiron there where you're healing it, so there can be triggers. It's like it's not healed, right? We're not healed yet, but there is a activation where, okay, oh, this is what I have to do to heal. It can still be a very emo day on Tuesday. I just think that there's going to be more of a fire under people's butts, so we want to be very careful with that. And this can show up, I think mostly it's going to show up in relationship, with the nodes activated in Aries and Libra, that rules one-on-one relationships. So there's going to be showing up in a relationship to power dynamics, usually between two people. And the question I just wrote was like, where does your inner child healing need to happen? Because there can be incredible information coming in on Monday and Tuesday about that. And so, first looking at where you stand before making it someone else's problem. Where do I stand? Getting really clear about your own feelings. And then, boom, Wednesday, adjust for your time zones. This is PST. Wednesday, 0 degrees, Aries, spring equinox. Boom, 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 boom. Fall equinox for the southern hemisphere. Equal day and night. This is a powerful day for new beginnings. So the one thing that I like to offer people is something called a treasure map, building a treasure map. There's many ways. Some people, there's another name for it. I call it a treasure map. It's also a vision board. There's another name for this. It's actually like very powerful to do it during the spring equinox more than any other time of the year. A treasure map, because you have this incredible Aries. Aries is like uh, a rocket ship. They don't have a ton of follow through, but the beginning energy is huge, like just a surge of power. So you can take this surge of power with a vision board or a treasure map, and there's just a lot of juice behind it. So a treasure map or a vision board is very easy to do. You can do it. I usually do it with collage, where you cut things out from magazines and you place them on a board or a piece of paper, and then you are kind of calling in your year ahead through the images. Usually it's a pretty intuitive process, but some people, they're like, I really want to fall in love. So you cut out a picture of a person that you find really attractive or the archetype of someone that you find really attractive. You put it on your treasure map. You want to be careful what you put there, by the way. Like, you want to be clear. That's why Monday, Tuesday is a good time to emotionally process. Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, okay, what do I want to put on my treasure map? What do I want to really call in this year? So you can do that with collage. You can also draw. It's a little bit of a different process, but you can draw some things that you really want. You could put it up somewhere that you can see it. It's in some part of your house or apartment. You can also, some people do digital treasure maps. I have a few like very tech heavy people, mostly my Aquariuses, who are like, yeah, I did a digital one, which is easy. You can just go onto like Canva. There's many collage websites where you can just drag images and create a poster, a digital poster. You can have it on your desktop. Like if we want to keep it really 2024, you can have it there. I'm a writer and I really like to kind of free write and then pick some words. Whatever comes up from the free write on Wednesday during the equinox is when I do the free write. I will pull phrases from my subconscious because it's automatic writing. You're just writing whatever's coming up. I pull some phrases from there and I sort of create a poem and sort of a word talisman for the year ahead. So those are many ways, collage, digital, and word. You can also definitely keep it really, really earthy and go out into nature and just speak out loud to nature what you're desiring. You can write everything down and bury it. You can write everything down and burn it. Fire is Aries element, so anything that's a fire related ritual is very powerful during this period of time. So if you want to burn something that you're writing down, although here it's not so much about releasing, it's about calling in. So fire is lovely, but also maybe you're releasing some stuff and then writing out something to keep and put up. You want to hold yourself accountable to this treasure map or vision board time because it is all about initiating and looking forward to new beginnings and trying to birth something. The birthing timeline usually is that you have the vision during Aries season, and then during the summer solstice or winter solstice, depending on your hemisphere, which is Cancer season, then you should start to see some movement happening in Cancer season. So that's the next cardinal sign. So you initiate in Aries season right now, spring equinox, fall equinox, depending on the time on the hemisphere, and then a couple months later, in it would be June, late June, you have the Cancer, the summer solstice, winter solstice. That's when you should start to see some sort of like movement in whatever you're calling in right now. You're working in between in that time zone to get it all done or get the first part of it done. And it follows the cardinal signs. So you can kind of map out, okay, what was I trying to build in late March? How does it showing up in late June? How is it then showing up in it'll be late September? How is it then showing up again in Capricorn season, which is late December? So these are all the cardinal signs, and they're powerful initiatory energies, and they represent turning points in the storyline. That's what cardinal signs always represent. They're like, and now we're moving in a new direction. but it can be on a project that already exists or some sort of desire that already exists, a storyline that's beginning during this time. You want to look around in your life almost like with childlike wonder, like what's possible. That's a beautiful way to align with this energy. Okay, what's possible? Being open, striking out into the world. It's the Fool in the tarot deck. So if you know about tarot, the Fool is like, got one foot off the ground, like headed over a hill, just like the world is my oyster, may not always have a plan, but or has parts of a plan, but is open to the beginning of the hero's journey. So, major moment of embarking or planting seeds to build something or to grow something that's really amazing and exciting and new. There's always an association with Aries and brand new. So, we want to be thinking about courageous new beginnings, embarking. And the hero's journey is always intense and scary, and there's always some variable that you're not aware of. This is the moment to just gather your courage to get ready to move forward. I will also say on that note with seed planting, it's literally, especially from the northern hemisphere perspective, it's literally a time to plant seeds. People like farmers are planting seeds or are growing seedlings right now. So you can also, that's a wonderful ritual. I do this every year. I have a certain crop that I grow every March. I start to seed them. And so you can literally be pouring your intentions into the seeds as you're planting them if you have a garden of any kind. You can always clean your space. Like this is wonderful. It's like classic spring cleaning here in the northern hemisphere, but like you can just refresh your space, move your furniture, smudge your house, reset your environment in some way to invite in peace, balance, and new beginnings. Another wonderful thing to do. One of my partners, ex-partners, was born on the spring equinox. She's the 0 degrees Aries. And she does not listen to the podcast, but she reads the newsletter. So maybe it'll make it into the newsletter. But she always does two things on her birthday. So she is this energy. I'm directly speaking to somebody who exists with their sun at 0 degrees of Aries. She does two things every year. She does a fast. So she fasts. She does a week-long fast every year during this time, this week. So she goes in with a clean, she has a very strong fasting practice. So I wouldn't jump into a fast if you've never done it, but you can research how to fast. She does a fast every year to reset her body. And she also creates an altar, a spring equinox altar, where she gathers things that represent to her the Aries energy. So there can be literally fire or, incense on the altar. She gathers, depending on where she's living, she gathers seeds from that particular region. Another really yang energy is Palo Santo. That's very yang and masculine. There's also yang sage, white sage. So there's or this yang sage. Maybe it's yeah. Anyway, there's a yang sage. You can type in like yang sage, and that's the one you can pick. But she'll set her altar up to call in new things. So that can be a physical vision board. So it doesn't have to be an image or a 2D two-dimensional. It can be a three-dimensional vision board. So she creates an altar for her new beginnings. You can get really creative with that. So lovely. And then I would also say, just on another note, is that sexuality and sex as a ritual act can be very much like seed planting. I mean, that's literal, but also like metaphorical. Like sex is very much associated with Aries. Aries is a strong libidinal sign as a fire sign, and it is about birthing. So we want to think about, that libidinal energy in general is gorgeous during this time, and it can be physical. It can be rooted in the physical, which, like, look, we've got Jupiter and Uranus and Taurus still. They love keeping it real physical. Another like side note that I thought was kind of cute is nature journaling. So going into nature, going deep into a place of nature that you feel calm in, and then taking your journal and journaling about the year ahead, what you want, what you desire. That's really beautiful because you're in like a really clear space with all that nature surrounding you. Okay, I wanted to mention some things about the spring equinox chart that I think are really powerful for the year ahead. So this is you use the chart as sort of a talisman for what's to come for the whole year, the next 365 days. So we have the South Node in Libra on the ascendant. So this is so intense. So it's Libra rising on the ascendant. There's North Node in Aries on the descendant. So the first thing I thought was like, okay, all of us collectively, this is a collective transit here or a collective talisman for all of us. We are undoing codependent behaviors that come out of fear, scarcity, habit, addiction to control. So there's with the South Node in Libra, it's about releasing codependency. It's about releasing giving your power over to your partner or partners, whether it's a business partner, romantic partner, but we are unlearning and releasing an attachment to codependent behaviors. If you are unsure what I mean by that, you can always type in codependent behavior and it will come up. The Gottman Institute, which is a very Libra institute, just lovely. It lives out the archetype of Libra. The Gottman Institute is a wonderful website to visit as well. That's all they're doing is helping folks create togetherness and intimacy and sovereignty in relationships. So both people are independent and accountable for themselves as individuals, and they are developing depth and intimacy with each other. So Gottman Institute's lovely. Nonviolent communication is lovely for this. That's a whole separate thing, um, but related. And then you have just looking up codependent behaviors and anxious and avoidant attachment. So looking at those kinds of attachment styles, that's what this year wants from us, is to really release relationship dynamics that are no longer serving us. For some of us, this may mean that certain relationships are transforming immensely. I'm talking like almost unrecognizable from where they were before this year. And for some folks, they may be releasing relationships entirely. So, on a very mundane level, this does look like divorce. Uh, on a global level, we're going to see definitely some governments fall. Yeah, that's just the T on that. I will say that Libra rising, Libra in general, is associated with Israel, so we'll see that going down. That's just a thing that's happening in the world. There will be some sort of massive transformation with all the Libra rising countries, Israel being one of them. Okay. And then, I also wrote with the North Node in Aries in the seventh house, it's about taking risks in relationship to others. So really putting yourself out there authentically, and even with the messy parts that you're like, I haven't healed that yet, but I'm gonna let people see it. And that's the bravery. Is like I'm just gonna like trust that like people will accept me even though I'm totally in process. And also becoming Aries is associated with leadership. It's like, how can I be a leadership in leadership as an individual by being like, hey, can we cultivate groups? This is Pluto and Aquarius. Can we cultivate groups where we can be messy and in process and not be judged immediately, right? And not be shut down. Like, how can we do that? How do we build that kind of space? So, being brave and in leadership around being in process, being your messy self, putting yourself out there and building groups and networks and relationships where you can be in process and it's okay. You can be messy and it's okay. This is not like, oh, I can be violent and it's okay. It's like, oh, I can make a mistake and then take accountability and we can move forward. And it's not like full total judgment over your whole personhood. First, coming from yourself, like being very compassionate towards yourself when you make mistakes. That's a beautiful thing with the North Node in Aries. But there is also a lot around entering new relationship partnerships, taking on new friends, taking on new communities. But it's coming from a place of like you're being more yourself and you're healing your Chiron wound through that, aka because you're not being judged as much, you can actually discover parts of yourself that you were hiding or were unaware of that are more authentically you. The moon is opposite Pluto, and this is in Leo. So wow, it's like childhood wounds up on the table this year. This whole year, it's like you have to heal your inner child. You have to heal your relationship to your childhood, the first 14 years of your life, and your access to joy, your access to feeling like innocent and open and excited by life. So this is the opposite of apathy. Pluto is going to try to really push you to a brink. A lot of us will be pushed to a brink of potentially nihilism or apathy to then find our joy. So Pluto likes to really, if people aren't listening, it's like, I'm going to force you to feel so nihilistic or apathetic that you're like, I have to make a different choice. So we can be faced, especially in relationship, and opposition is always a relationship. So we can be faced in our relationships with questions around like, are you do you love your life? Do you love me? Do you love the partnership that you're in? Leo is all about the heart chakra and actual love. Like, are you authentically in love with your life, your job, your partner? right? These are some big oppositional questions that will come up during this year. Part of what I wrote was like you have to be innovative and leave behind old habits of protecting yourself or hiding yourself, moving into radical honesty with friends, but in a way that is loving, right? Radical honesty with nonviolent communication is powerful, equal sharing. And a big Leo question here is what does it feel like to be in my own sovereignty and still be in community? How can I be both a lover and a friend to all people, a lover of myself and a friend to all people? And then another question is how do I get in my own way when it comes to expressing myself? What am I afraid of people seeing? Am I afraid of rejection from the group? I think a lot of us are. There's a survival mechanism built in around wanting to have the group approve of us. So the opposition says, well, you're gonna be your groups are changing because Pluto's in Aquarius, and therefore you need to sort of stand up as a leader of your own self-love. It's similar to the Aries energy with Leo. It's like, do I love myself? And can I move from that space? And especially with Leo, it's like really fundamentally knowing that you are lovable just as you are, being loved for exactly who you are, which I think we hear, like you hear me say it and you're like, yeah, 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 I get it. But do you really get it? Like on a physical, somatic, embodied, and spiritual level, do you know what it feels like to love yourself and be in love with yourself? It takes a lot of work and it takes a lot of shadow work. I'm going to shout out Heidi Prieb here. If you need someone on YouTube, she's wonderful. She's on YouTube. I don't know if she has a podcast, but her name's Heidi Prieb. Put the link in the show notes for the podcast. Heidi Prieb on YouTube, she has so many wonderful videos on how to do the hard work, how to do the shadow work, how to heal yourself first before you try to heal other people or try to change other people. It's like you can't change them, but often when we're operating from a wounded inner child, we're seeking other people's validation or we're seeking other people's we're trying to change them in the idea that if we change them, we're going to be okay. And really, it starts totally from the self, right? It starts from your inner child. It starts from your relationship to your the most innocent fundamental part of who you are, the goofy part of who you are, the weird, idiosyncratic part of who you are. That is where the power comes from. And it actually domino effect heals all of your relationships. It's miraculous. You heal the relationship to the self. There's a lot less work to do in healing your relationship to other people. It just happens effortlessly. But usually we get spurred to heal ourselves through relationships. So that's the weird thing is like you usually we're faced with somebody who's forcing us to change. And that's how we learn how to communicate better and communicate to ourselves better. Okay. Spiritual discipline is really important here with Saturn and Pisces, sobriety, creating spiritual containers through limitation, being of service to others. So, giving a little bit more than you normally would. It actually comes back threefold. That's the beauty of Pisces. Bringing love into others' lives through creative pursuits and healing modalities. A lot of people might wake up this year with the sun, with Chiron in the North Node in Aries and Saturn in Pisces. They may wake up this year and realize, oh, I'm a healer. I've been doing this other job, but I'm actually a healer. So I see that for a lot of people. And it could look like any kind of healing modality with Aquarius, with Pluto and Aquarius, it could be a non-traditional healing modality. Astrology is one of them, but there's many non-traditional healing modalities that are seeing a resurgence or a surge. There's just more demand for healing that is outside of allopathic medicine. So we could definitely see that. The one thing I love about this chart is that the sun is trine the moon from Aries to Leo, which is just massive creative potential and healing through like dedicating yourself to what brings you joy. It's and I use the word dedicating because there's an element where it's like, oh, I know that makes me feel good, but what if you really lean in and take it seriously? Like this is like serious fun. For me, I'm an artist, so everything I do from an artistic point of view, I take very seriously. I look at I'm going to talk about acting for a second because Leo rules actors. Look, with acting, I treat it like I'm a soldier. It sounds very strange because you're like actor, soldier, not the same thing, Marvel, right? But what I mean by that is that when I'm working on it, when I'm working to heal to get better, to not just heal my inner child, which acting does, but to actually uh, get my build my skill level up, I treat it like it's not going to be easy, and it isn't, by the way. Really, if you're really acting, if you're really trying to build that skill set, you have to face a lot of your shadow. You have to face a lot of what you're afraid other people are going to see. You also have to work hard. Believe it or not, I think people think actors don't work hard. You have to work really, really hard to tighten your vessel, to tighten your skill. You have to meditate. There's so many things you have to do so that you can actually deliver the performance that convinces people. And you have to pull from your inner emotional reserves. If you're not in touch with your emotions, you're not going to know how to pull from those reserves. So I treat it like I'm going into the trenches. And often it's very scary. I have left acting class so many times shaking, just like totally transfigured. Oh my God, that thing came up and erupted out of me, and I have to heal that. I have to heal that part of me. Now I recognize where I have a block. You can't hide when you're in front of the camera. You can't really hide when you're on stage. So this is not going to apply to everybody, but the metaphor is there, which is in your relationships or where you feel joy and creativity, whether it's sports, weightlifting, uh, karate, whether it is any kind of art, painting, sculpture, film, any sort of expressive modality we want to lean into this year. It's going to help us transfer all this fire energy that's available in a positive way. We're creating something, and you want to let other people see you this year. Let people see you. I think you'll be surprised at the response when you're just being yourself. So that's for all of us, you know? So I just want to recommend like leaning into your creative potential and your joy and what sort of modalities make you really happy. With Pluto and Aquarius there, it is about experimenting with what brings you joy. So also trying new things is a big part of this energy. Really like being like, oh, I've never done that before. Let's go. I love this for Aries season that we're embarking on Wednesday. Like leaning in. If you could take one risk, huge risk this year, everybody, I would be so happy because it's totally aligned with the energy. All right. So Wednesday, that's really big. That's the ingress chart. Get ready. Very powerful, very fiery year ahead. There's going to be on a global stage with a lot of fire energy. It always shows up a little bit in the shadow. So I just want to say for us as individuals, it can be very creative and pleasure seeking. And on the collective stage, there will be a lot of inflammation. When fire's in the sky collectively, there's a lot of confrontation. Fire is very much associated with like something's transforming, something's getting changed. Fire is a dangerous element, right? Like we can't engage with fire directly. It will burn us. So that energy is going to we're going to experience that on a collective level, especially in April. And on our personal levels, on our personal basis, it will be easier, but still you want to be channeling this energy creatively. Otherwise, it could really, you could get burned, especially if you focus it in on other people and make if you're thinking to make it other people's problem, like whatever it is that you feel unhappy about, their problem, this can be just high inflammation, high levels of inflammation, and it can burn down relationships, etc. So you want to be very, very careful and ask yourself, like, how am I actually channeling this heat in my body? How am I channeling my passion? Am I channeling it in creative ways or in destructive ways? That's just a beautiful thing to ask yourself. Okay. Thursday through Friday, we have Mars at an anaretic degree. So this is yeah. So Mars is at the last degree of Pisces. The sun is now following, or rather, sorry, Mars is at the last degree of Aries, and the sun is now following Mars for 30 days. It's going to be powerful, you know. We'll see how it goes. Mars at an anaretic degree, there can be a great like you can really want to take risks, especially with a uh, Pluto being sextiled by the sun on the same day. You can take risks with groups, networks, tech, social media in ways that are authentically you. There's a lot of gusto with Mars at an anaretic degree as we enter Aries season. So really not a day to be joking. It's not a joking kind of day. I would watch out with where your energy levels are and just be mindful. With Pluto, the sun, and Mars active, it's a very yang or masculine energy present, and it's going to continue to heat up as we enter April. So I would just breathe deeply. Again, any form of physical exercise or burning things off, like burning off steam, will help you a lot Thursday, Friday, so that you're not just bulldozing other people. That can happen, or people can try to bulldoze you. So create space and containers and take breaks from group interactions and take breaks from one-on-one relationship dynamics. Venus is going to conjoin Saturn. So there's a reality check around love, money, but also there's a potentially a tangible reality emerging. It just, you need to have some level of discipline around it or sobriety. You have to see it clearly. But there is something real that wants to happen from your visions and dreams and prayers at this time. So there's a lot of potential building energy as we enter Aries season. I really like it a lot. However, with Venus conjunct Saturn for our relationships, especially if you're a Taurus or a Libra, this aspect Thursday, Friday can feel a little bit like a reality check in a way that's like, oh, okay, this is going to be a lot more work than I thought. Or the dream that I had around this is real, but it's not exactly what I saw. And it's a little bit of the quote from John Lennon, which is life is what happens when you're busy making other plans. This could be one of those moments where you had a vision about how something was supposed to look, and then Venus can join Saturn, and it's like, okay, it actually looks this way. You know, when you get for me, it's like when I get a job, when I book a job acting, I always like imagine the set before I'm on my way. I've got a lot of Pisces, so I'm always like imagining the set. And then when I actually show up, you're always like, it always looks different than you imagined. And that's a little bit this moment. So just keep in mind. However, with the conjunction to Saturn, it's exactly what it's supposed to be. So even if there's a little bit of a bubble pop moment of not quite getting what you thought you were going to get, it's exactly what karmically needs to be happening. So you can just settle into that Pisces energy, which is let go and let God and surrender and be like, huh, what a blessing. What a blessing. Now, the weekend, we have the moon in Virgo. So, what do I say about? I'm like a broken record here. It's organize, clean your house, check off all the small to do things, organize, 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 heal yourself and other people. So, do some nice things for your health, maybe do a spa day, uh, put a facial mask on. Little things go a long way with Virgo. The devil's in the details here, and this would be positive. A positive way to have that energy is to just do small, nice things that make you feel more in control in a very mundane way. You don't need to be in control over others, but you can be in control over whether you're pampering yourself, right? There's still great collaborative energy over it, like with a task or that's difficult, monotonous. Venus conjunct Saturn while this is all happening makes me think that like you could work one-on-one with somebody to get something done that requires some time. So like if this weekend you wanted to do a home project that does require labor, that's lovely. Like there's a lot of get stuff done energy. And with Aries, it's like, yeah, let's do it. Like we're finally going to renovate that part of the house, or we're going to paint this room. Aries loves kind of a challenge, or like, let's see if we can do this right now and get it done. With the moon in Virgo, it can be done well. So that's a nice combo with those energies, is that it's actually done not in a slapdash kind of a way, but that it's being transformed with the details in mind. So yeah, that's the New Year's chart and the weekly energy for the new year. It's so exciting. April's going to be the biggest month of the year, so just hold on to your hats. I would mentally prepare. We're not quite there yet. The eclipse does happen Monday, March 25th, so the day after this weekend with the moon in Libra. Oof. So we're heading into this full moon. I should have mentioned this at the top, and I apologize, but this week that we're in right now, leading into the eclipse, is a building energy week. So we can continue to feel like a lot of change energy as we lead into this eclipse. It's a huge week because it's the new year, new you, brand new beginnings. And then boom, on Monday of the following week, there's this huge eclipse in Libra. So relationships are going to be massively on the table this whole week and then into next week. Big changes, big change points happening. This is kind of a lot of energy. So the last couple of weeks of Pisces season, I've been like, we're healing, we're taking it slow. But this week it really picks up. And so I want everyone to be very careful with themselves and other people right now and be patient. I think being patient with yourself in relationship right now is a wonderful way to move through the world at this moment. This is a very heated juncture, and it's only going to get hotter in April. So, what are ways that you can cool your life down? What are ways that you can cool your relationships down? part of this South Node in Libra is releasing the like messiness. So creating rules in your relationships and agreeing on rules. Rules create containers which allow there to be decompression so that okay, oof, it's not as dramatic because we have this rule, we take a 25-minute break, or you drink a glass of water when you're feeling upset, little things that you can lean into to prepare for April in general, but to also prepare for this eclipse happening on Monday, the March 25th. So just be mindful, be careful, go slow, and the emotions are going to be up on the table for everybody. So be kind to your fellow person and yourself. All right. I love each and every one of you. If you need help in the relationship department, because this is what it's looking like, everybody, if you need help in the relationship department, whether that is a lover or a business partner, I work one-on-one with people on that exactly, especially if you have the other person's chart, but also I can help you with your communication style and love language and your sort of with Mars, it's about how you do things, your behavioral tendencies. So we can work together to sort of streamline a lot of that and help you very practically implement some behaviors that can streamline your life and streamline your relationships. All right. Well, thank you for listening to the World of Rex. You can find out more about me in the link in the show notes on TikTok, Instagram, the newsletter. We love the newsletter. It comes in through your email every week, as well as the podcast and YouTube's. So you can check me out there. All right. I love each and every one of you, and I will talk to you next week on the World of Rex.